Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and for this week's video, I want to shift it back to Five Nights at Freddy's. As you guys know, the movie's been out for a couple weeks now, and to be honest, it's kind of surreal that something like this even exists. But despite this being the first official Five Nights at Freddy's movie, I can think of a whole lot of recent movies that were very FNAF-esque in their tone and premise. Some of these movies were even referred to as the FNAF movie before the actual Five Nights at Freddy's movie. And the most prominent movie of this subset genre is without a doubt Willy's Wonderland. And to be totally honest, I think it's pretty ironic that this movie was linked to Five Nights at Freddy's, because in a lot of ways, it's the complete opposite of the game. As you guys know, Five Nights at Freddy's is pretty limited in its gameplay. Even as the main character, you're kind of confined to just looking left and right. Though you can make an argument that it's pretty cheap, it does actually add to the player's sense of powerlessness, as no matter how good you are at the game, you're always going to be stuck looking left and right. Now compare this to Willy's Wonderland, where Nicolas Cage's character, the Janitor, does all the work he has to. He walks around, and if any of the animatronics try to pull up on him, he just beats them up. It's kind of a power fantasy in that regard. But it also comes with the question of, what if the animatronics he was fighting were the ones that kind of inspired his movie? And seeing as how the FNAF movie is still pretty new, I think this matchup is pretty fitting. So that's exactly what I'm going to do this week, as we'll find out how would the Janitor fare at the movie version of Five Nights at Freddy's Pizzeria. Are the FNAF animatronics pushovers, or will the Janitor be humbled and stuffed into a suit? But before that, if you like the power scaling content, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. We post weekly videos from Godzilla to Five Nights at Freddy's. This is the channel you want to be at. But with all that garbage out the way, let's get into the matchup. I suppose we'll start off with the FNAF animatronics, seeing as how they're the new guys around the block. And plus, I think it would be pretty interesting to see if these guys are any weaker or stronger than their game counterparts. So starting off with the lower ends, similar to their game counterparts, these guys are confirmed to be able to rip off limbs and dismember people, which should be equivalent to around 200,646 newtons of force. And in power scaling terms, it would be around bare minimum street plus level, but more than likely it would be around wall level. For some attack poses he showcases in the film that are consistent with this level of scaling, Bonnie is able to beat a grown man to death, and I have no reason to say that Bonnie is any weaker or stronger than any of the gang, so they should all be able to perform this feat, which is some more solid, consistent street level scaling. And since there's always that one person in the comment section, let me reiterate, street level means you are around peak human level and you can fight threats such as large animals or groups of people. I'm not saying that Bonnie or any of the FNAF animatronics in this continuity can destroy a city block. But anyways, there's an instance later on in the film where William Afton in his golden Bonnie suit is able to send Mike flying with a simple kick. And for those of you guys confused as to why I'm talking about William Afton, he's wearing an animatronic suit or exoskeleton. So any of the feats or durability showcases that he has should scale to our animatronics here. All of the animatronics in the film can stuff human beings, but it's important to note it's not as potent or as violent as seen in the game. So it wouldn't warrant the exact value as the game calculation. But from what we see, it would still warrant around street to low wall level scaling, as we see the remains of the victims in question, and yikes, it's pretty violent to say the least. There's also a pretty notable instance in which Freddy Fazbear himself is able to completely bite off the upper body and torso of a young lady. The feat in question was pretty casual, and both parts of the body were separated like butter. And for those of you guys interested in a calculation, the Versus Wiki has this feat requiring around 37 joules of energy in order to perform, or once again street level. And before I get into durability, I want to talk about how even the cupcake scene in the movie is seen to overpower humans. For durability now, they should all be relative to their attack potency, because, I mean, come on, they're made of metal after all. They're, it kind of goes without saying. But if that doesn't work with you for some reason, you want some more quantifiable stuff. In the climax of the film, Vanessa shoots William Afton, and I believe the bullet kind of ricocheted off of the suit, and it had no effect, and it left no type of mark on the suit at all. Now, obviously, guns vary in power overall, but seeing as how Vanessa's a cop, we can actually assume the exact model of gun she had in the scene. According to my research, most cops carry a Glock 40, which can shoot a bullet equivalent to around 570 joules of force. So street level once again. And there's also the scene where Mike attempts to hit Freddy Fazbear with a chair, and bro no-sells it. of the gang should scale to these 2 feats in question, so yeah, they're not glass cannons or anything like that. They should scale relative to their AP. Now, as for speed, you would assume they're below average human level with the way they kind of marauder and slowly walk around, but you can make a case for them being pretty fast, as Foxy, in a scene reminiscent to the role he played in the video games, is shown to catch a human at the total opposite end of the hall almost instantly. Now, if you want to scale the speed feat to the other animatronics, I won't stop you, but objectively, at the very least, Foxy scales to his level of speed. So in conclusion, while these guys don't get into the wall levels as casually and consistently as their game counterparts, they can be argued to be at the higher ends of street level to more than likely the lower ends of wall level. Their durability should scale to this for obvious reasons, and as for speed, I would personally have them at around below average human level, with Foxy possibly upscaling them all to like the upper ends of peak human to superhuman speed. Now, this level of power is not that bad considering it's only been one film, but much more importantly, how does the janitor from Willy's Wonderland compare to these stats? Nicolas Cage's character from Willy's Wonderland has one real main feat, and I don't know, it's something like beating in multiple animatronics and destroying them with his bare hands. Now, to some people, this would be the end of the discussion. I could see a lot of people being like, he beat these animatronics so he could beat these animatronics, but here on this channel, you guys should know that we like to look into it. So I'm gonna start off by talking about the feats of the animatronics that he killed, and then compare them to the animatronics from the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. And then we'll re-examine Nicolas Cage's character's performance against these animatronics in order to walk away with a result that's both accurate and objective. So starting off with the animatronics as seen in the movie. Okay, fortunately for us, I found an entire thread dedicated to the feats of the animatronics, and surprisingly, it's pretty thorough. I'm not gonna read off of it, but I'll talk about the most important stuff. But if any of you guys want to read it and look into the feats yourself, I'll link it in the description. Okay, but turns out these guys have some prequel comics, and honestly, some of the stuff in said prequel comics is actually kind of disgusting. So I'm gonna try my best not to actually show that stuff. So bear with me when I try to describe these feats. Okay, a nice place to start is with Cammy Chameleon, who with her tongue is shown to break a man's neck with the simple flick of her head. The feat in question would yield around 13,000 joules of energy, and it would equate to around Street Plus level. Now, the janitor scales to this as he's able to overpower Cammy's head when he twisted a full 360 degrees, while also simultaneously knocking the head off its body. So right there, he's shown to overpower body parts of animatronics, which can yield around Street Plus levels of power. So at the lowest of bare minimums, he would scale to that. But I think wall level can be argued overall, seeing as how close the initial value is to wall level and how effortlessly Nicolas Cage performs his feat. For some consistency now, we're gonna have to talk about Nighty Night, who performs a lot of nasty feats in the comic. Not nasty as in particularly impressive, but nasty as in I don't want to show it, it's gonna make me throw up. But luckily for us, his best feat is when he's shown to be able to cut a table in half with a casual swing as well. This particular feat would yield around 2400 joules of energy, so street level once again. Our janitor is shown to be able to overpower him and beat him down, and then cut his head off like butter. For reference, doing this to a human being would require around 616 joules of force, but seeing as how Nighty is made out of metal, the feat should yield higher results, as even though surprisingly bone is stronger than metal, metal is actually more durable. Moving on to concrete wall levels now, he was able to casually overpower and break the jaws off of Artie the alligator. Artie the alligator is able to pull a predator off, which just means he's able to rip the head and spine off of a man. This feat would require around 681 kilojoules, which is pretty deep into wall level. For some consistency to this level of power, the janitor is shown to overpower and crush the skull of Gus the gorilla, who can also casually dismember people and pull them apart. But when you take into account he's also breaking their spine as well, the feat would actually yield around 40 kilojoules of energy, which yes, is wall level. The janitor's best feat from the film is actually just beating Willy. Willy should be the strongest of the animatronics as he performs the best against Nicolas Cage. After losing to Willy in their initial fight, upon getting a second wind and some weapons as well, the janitor is able to beat down Willy and tear his head off, fully cementing our main character into wall level, as he would upscale Willy, who upscales everyone else. As for durability now, Willy's able to slash humans in half, with casual swipes of his paws no less, even sending entire torsos flying in the process. And then you have the janitor, who immediately after takes multiple consecutive hits from the same paws, and it only gives him some scratches. As for speed now, he would be around peak human to superhuman level speed, as he's shown to overpower the animatronics with not just his power, but the combos and speed of his attacks as well. He is shown consistently to deliver multiple coordinated blows in quick succession, and he's able to dodge and block attacks from the robots as well. I think it's important to note that these robots aren't like the Five Nights at Freddy's ones. They run around and they're shown to be relative to humans in terms of speed, or sometimes even faster faster. Take Siren Sarah for example, who is shown to be so fast that it's hard for humans to keep up with her. And this is how she performed against the Janitor. The Janitor's feats in this movie are pretty ridiculous, and it's just like Liv says.
You don't understand. You locked the wrong guy up in here. He's not trapped in here with them. They're trapped in here with him.
Okay, so with the stats of both parties laid out, who do I think would win? And I'm not gonna lie, I think the Janitor got this more times than not. Unless all of the animatronics put up on him at once and tried to jump him, I don't see any chance they have of taking this guy out. I think the last segment of the video made it pretty apparent that the animatronics from Willy's Wonderland are definitely much stronger than the ones from the FNAF movie, as they seem to butcher people a lot more seamlessly and a lot more graphically as well. I think the Janitor is definitely cutting down their numbers one by one if they try to step to him individually, as they normally do in the film. And even if they all pull up on him at once, they're all very slow, unless you scale all of the animatronics to Foxy's running speed. And even then, the Janitor has shown the ability to take on multiple faster and stronger animatronics at once, while handcuffed no less. But getting back to the issue of attack potency, the FNAF animatronics only showed street level feats in their film, and they only get to wall level if you kind of give them the side eye and some of the benefit of the doubt, whereas the animatronics from Willy's Wonderland were cemented fully into wall level. I guess this is to be expected because Willy's Wonderland is kind of an 80s slasher in terms of its horror and gore, with it being really over the top and graphic. It's nowhere near as mainstream as the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, which is a major Hollywood freaking film that's aimed towards a fan base that is composed of mostly kids. So naturally, the filmmakers would have to tone it back on the gore, as well as the violent nature of the animatronics, overall resulting in weaker animatronics than even the game counterparts. Now for some minor things, I want to talk about Golden Freddy, and he shouldn't be an issue because unlike his game counterpart, he's actually tangible, and you can touch him and grab him, as shown by Abby holding his hand, and as demonstrated by Korex Kenshin's cab being slightly tilted by Golden Freddy sitting down. So this time you can't pull the Golden Freddy's a ghost, the Janitor can't touch him because he can. And if you want to say Golden Freddy teleports, awesome, but what does that mean? He's still gonna have to get up close to him if he wants to beat him. Now another thing I want to talk about is the cupcake, and people have been memeing about the cupcake being the most powerful one. And to be honest, the cupcake is actually probably the most dangerous due to its hyper-aggressive nature, where it gets to jump on you and overwhelms you from there. My rebuttal to this is that this isn't a situation that the Janitor has never found himself in before. As in the movie, he gets caught off guard and jumped by Gus the gorilla, and he's confined into a bathroom stall's worth of space to work with. But as we saw in the fight, Nicolas Cage's character was able to get the upper hand pretty quickly after that. So from there, I see all the animatronic cells being destroyed like low to mid diff, but from there, what's he gonna do about the ghost kids? And I'd say nothing. And it's not like they would do anything to him. As to assert that they're any stronger than their animatronics is kind of headcanon, and they're only seen attacking Mike while he's sleeping. While yes, the film makes it pretty apparent that the ghost kids don't need their animatronics in order to interact with the world of the living, the ghost kids can't overpower him or anything like that. The Janitor doesn't sleep on the job, so I don't see the ghost kids getting into his head or anything like that either. So unironically, I just see him finishing his shift, putting the animatronics in garbage bags, and just riding off in his car at the break of dawn, as the Janitor has shown the resourcefulness, the skill, the stamina, as well as the attack potency to finish his job. And to be totally honest, Willy's Wonderland is just this exact scenario but harder, and he did it very easily. So in conclusion, I got the Janitor low to mid diff. If you guys made it to the end of this video, I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like this video, sub, all that nonsense garbage. We'll be back next week, but until then, stay big, G fans.